Attention. Due to the nature of the films discussed, the Civil Gore podcast may contain adult language and themes.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome to episode 72 of the Civil Gore podcast. I'm your host, Tim.
And I'm your host, Brian. And this, while not being a true episode in terms of reviewing a movie, we have got so much content for you because this is our official Halloween Horror Nights preview episode.
Right. This is not a mini-sode. This is a full-blown episode. We are going to go through all of the houses, all of the scare zones, the show. We're going to just give you a big preview of everything Halloween Horror Nights 28 related. And the reason we did this now, even though our trip is not for a few weeks now, the reason we did it now is because we wanted to have an uninterrupted theme month for our Back to Ghoul series, which is going to be all horror movies related to schools.
Right.
So this will allow us to get the preview episode out of the way, and then we will be back next week with actually our normal feature film format. So let's get right into it. We have a big first chop this week.
Yes.
Here it is, our first chop. So first up, Brian, over the break, I got to catch up on a series that I had been meaning to watch. This is an Amazon Prime series called Picnic at Hanging Rock. And this one is based off a book and a movie of the same name. The movie was made back in the 70s, and I'm actually a big fan of this movie. It's a very strange, kind of eerie film. And it's about a girls' school in Australia, and a group of the girls go missing in this area called Hanging Rock. It's one of those psychological horror films that really just never gives you any answers. It's just very, very eerie and creepy vibe to it. You never quite can tell if something supernatural occurred or if they just wandered and got lost or what happened. And so I was really looking forward to the series. The series is really good. It's actually, to me, it was better than the movie because it has more opportunity to add more creepiness and more eeriness to the proceedings. It follows the same kind of format of the movie. You don't really get straight out answers, but there's an element of psychological horror here that just really gets under your skin, and I really enjoyed it. It's got the girl from Game of Thrones, which I'm completely forgetting her name right now, but it was Natalie Dormer, who plays Marjorie Tyrell on Game of Thrones.
Ah, okay.
And she's really, really good in this. But yeah, it's I can't really explain it because it's just a very psychological, eerie, slow burn series, and I just really liked it. I don't know, it may not be up everyone's alley. I've seen kind of mixed reviews for it, but I just thought it had some really, really creepy sequences in it. So I would highly recommend it. Picnic at Hanging Rock on Amazon Prime.
How many episodes are there? Is there a lot? Or
no, it's only 6 episodes. So you can just binge right through this one.
That'd be one I can probably get through.
Yeah, it's worth it. I'd like to hear somebody else's thoughts on it because I've only read a little bit on the internet and it's kind of been mixed. So I'd like to hear somebody, like a fellow horror fan, give their opinion on it.
I could be that fellow horror fan.
There you go. There's your homework.
Yeah.
And next up, we have the Suspiria full trailer. I'm getting more and more excited for this one.
Yeah, this is getting a lot of, it's weird. It's getting a lot more, I guess, a discussion than I thought. And not just through, horror circuits. I, see it, in a lot of places. So it's pretty good that the horror is really in the forefront again.
Yeah, I have a feeling this one's going to be kind of mainstream.
Yeah.
I think Hereditary and Get Out and the success of those types of movies have really kind of opened the doors for even some of these more artsy type horror films to make it into the mainstream, which is good.
Plus, Dakota Johnson is getting a name for herself out there, so it's got some of that attention to it with her. So
yeah, that's true. Yeah, I think this one, I'm really looking forward to this, and I'm not usually a fan of remakes, especially of remakes of very classic movies, and Suspiria is way on up there with one of my favorite horror movies of all time. So for me to be excited about it, I have to see something special in the trailer, and I just think the trailer looks fantastic.
Yeah, no, this will be fun to talk about when this comes out.
When's the release date for that one? Do you remember?
I don't offhand. I want to say late September, but it could be first week October.
Yeah, it's very soon though.
I'm pretty sure it's before Halloween for sure, right? Like the Halloween 2018,
Yes.
right? It's
Yeah. Let's see. Release date is.
Look at that. We're rusty after being gone.
Oh no, we were wrong. It's 2nd November.
Oh, so we were way off.
2nd of November.
Should we go back and fix it?
Nah.
Okay.
We'll leave it in. That's for you fans. An Easter
Yeah.
egg behind the scenes.
There you go. Me and Tim being unprepared.
Next up, my alphabet project. Now, this one was interesting. Q. I've already seen Q the Winged Serpent, and I've already seen Quarantine. So my options were limited.
But you had another one that I thought you spoke about. That I guess you changed it.
Okay. Well, I do have to mention this one because it's pretty fantastic. So on YouTube, I found this movie called Queen of Kong. Now, I did not finish this movie because halfway through, I realized this was not a horror movie.
Yeah.
It's way more of a comedy. But if you track this thing down on YouTube, it's called Queen of Kong. It is a feminist version of King Kong. I believe it was 76 because they have some like Jaws references in it. And I don't know where to begin with this movie. The theme song, you've got to hear the theme song. If nothing else, just fast forward through the movie until you start hearing the theme song because it is one of the best things I've ever heard in my life. And I'll give you.
Is it Merva the Clown worthy?
Almost. It goes. Let me just give you one lyric, and if you have kids out there, you may want to cover their ears briefly. But one of the lyrics is "The Queenie for my weenie." So
that's awesome.
It's fantastic. No, there's a part where a boat full of women start breaking into song. It's phenomenal.
God. I don't think that was so bad though, weenie. I mean, if theme park families can say bald knobbers on their episode, I think we can get away with weenie.
That's true. I mean, we're getting a little prudish if we can't say weenie on the
show. I mean, come on.
But it does involve, the theme song does reference basically having romantic feelings for a giant ape. So I don't know.
Yeah, well, maybe in that context, if you just left it alone, Tim. But now that you went into it, now we went down that rabbit hole there. Yeah.
Oh man. So anyway, I had to find another Q movie because that was definitely more comedy than horror. So I was looking around on Shudder and I saw the only one they had that I had not seen was called Queen of Spades, The Dark Rite.
Interesting.
And if you look at this thing, it looks like a typical, one of those movies you just browse through and see on Netflix and you skip right past it because of the cover. And then I found out it was in Russian, so I'd have to read subtitles. And I'm going, oh God, I don't want to do this one. And I was looking for any other movie to do besides this one. Finally, I was like, I'm pressed for time. I don't have a choice. Queen of Spades, The Dark Rite, it is. And let me tell you, I was blown away. This movie is awesome.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
It is basically a Bloody Mary type situation.
Oh.
So these kids conjure this spirit called the Queen of Spades from a mirror. And then, of course, you get crazy things happening. And it came off as a mixture of Oculus and The Exorcist. It's the best way I could describe it. Sort of like the Oculist.
The Oculist Kickstarter number 300.
But yeah, if you're creeped out like I am about any kind of movies that feature mirrors and spirit things in the backs of mirrors and stuff like that, this movie's right up your alley. It's got the jump scares, but it's also got a lot of good, creepy, just really creepy, weird scenes in it. It's really, really good. I was impressed. Like, this one completely off my radar. Had no intentions. Actually tried to avoid seeing it. I was wrong. I was completely wrong on this one. It's really, really good.
And it's funny. You said something and I realized there are actually a couple, believe it or not, with our long rundown here in the first chop, there's two things that we forgot to mention. One of them is totally related to what you said about passing over a cover. Did you see the book that Steve Cohn, our good friend Steve Cohn, who actually is sort of out of commission because he's in one of our favorite places right now. He's currently in Gatlinburg right now.
Oh,
yeah.
Fun.
So he actually, and he's staying. He's like staying right in that cool downtown area that we like, and he was eating at Bennett's Pit Barbecue. So he's like, we basically gave him a whole bunch of fun stuff because Tim and I have been there a couple times and we love that area. So, and they, but anyway, he found a book. It's called VHS Video Cover Art, 1980s to early 1990s. It literally is like a coffee table book with just video VHS basic cover art. That's what it is. And if
Oh
that's
my
not a
gosh.
book made for me, I gotta send you the link, Tim. So I meant to put it on the rundown. I completely forgot. But yeah, so this is something that I think we definitely need to get. We need to own this thing.
Yes, I will buy that immediately.
Yeah, and it's like a nice hardcover book. It's only not bad. It's only $31. It's in stock already, so it's out. And it's basically, it just says it's I'll read you the description. It says, video art is a unique and largely lost art form representing a period of unabashed creativity during the video rental boom of the 80s to 90s. So basically, it goes through all the things. There's 240 full-scale complete video sleeves for action, comedy, horror, kids, sci-fi, and thrillers. So this is, we have got to own this book.
That sounds incredible.
Yeah, so sorry I went a little off thing, but when you reminded me, you said cover art. I'm like, oh my god, I did not put that on there. So we went a little out of sort.
I'm glad you mentioned that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So next up, we got word that Netflix is doing a sequel to Death Note, which you remember that was the film based off the Japanese anime title about the kid that has the demon that basically. I'm trying to remember now. It's been a while since
I hadn't seen. This is the one that you saw. You really said you really liked it, where it was like he wrote stuff down and it happened or something, right?
Yeah, like he could write stuff down, the demon would make it happen or whatever. So apparently this did well enough that they're doing a sequel. I mean, I thought it was okay. I don't remember what I said about it on the show. I remember I enjoyed it for the most part. So I'll look forward to that one. I'll check that one out for sure.
Yeah, and I've always been in my queue with the original too. I haven't watched it yet, so I guess I better get on that one.
The next one up, Truth or Dare. I finally saw Truth or Dare.
Oh.
So yeah, Olivia and I had a date night. We did not want to go out to the theater, so we hit the old red box. And of course, anytime I hit the red box, I look for whatever horror movie I missed in the theater. And this time it was, of course, Truth or Dare. And this one I did not rush out to see in the theater because I'd heard the kind of mediocre reviews. And I have to say, unfortunately, the reviews were right.
Was this the unrated version? Because I think the Blu-ray that I have is unrated. I don't know if that makes it any better or worse, but...
I'm assuming so, because it was the Blu-ray.
Oh, okay.
It was the Redbox Blu-ray, whatever, but usually they put the unrated in there.
Right,
so,
I think so, yeah.
But this one, it just wasn't very good. It's definitely marketed towards the younger crowd. And I mean, there's plenty of movies I like that are marketed to the younger crowd. I'm not that old, Brian. Believe it or not, we're not that old.
I know, we're definitely not that old.
We can still remember being that age. But
right.
This one just screams PG-13, marketed to teenagers on a Friday night, and then forget it type movie. And here's the problem I had with it, the major problem. You know the plot line. The plot line is kids get involved in a game of Truth or Dare, and then now they're in a position where they have to play or something bad will happen to them.
Right.
We've seen this in Final Destination. We've seen this now in It Follows. And both of those movies did a way better job of it than this movie did.
Yeah.
So that was my major problem with this film. If it had been completely original, okay, maybe I could have forgiven it a little bit. But we've had an entire franchise that has done it better. And then we've had It Follows, which did it phenomenally. And I just, watching this was like a pale imitation of those movies. And even the death scenes and stuff were just lame. I didn't like this one at all.
That's the one where with the faces, right? Where they have the weird smiley face.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing. I don't find that scary in the least. And that is the entire premise of this movie Scares, is that you find that Snapchat filter that they use to pull their faces up. They even say in the movie, she says, they look like a bad Snapchat filter. And I'm like, yeah, exactly.
Oh,
but,
man.
it's if you find that scary, more power to you. But I just thought it looked silly. I mean, they were doing that crap in Black Hole Sun back in the 90s with Soundgarden.
Yeah.
I mean that video creeped me out.
Yeah, basically, unless you find, like, Stan Laurel from Laurel and Hardy scary with his weird face, that's basically what you're getting with this, so, yeah.
Or like Jim Carrey.
That's true. Oh, righty then, yeah.
It was just silly. It was silly. I didn't like this one at all, so pass on Truth or Dare, and thank God Orlando's not getting the Truth or Dare house.
Yeah, I know.
The Blumhouse.
Yeah, and you were all worried about that, and I'm like, you and Cone both, like, texted me right around the same time, and you're like, oh, I guess we got to watch this. And I'm like, But wait a minute, the one I saw didn't mention that. It mentioned Happy Death Day, which we'll get to later in our preview. But it mentioned Happy Death Day in the first Purge. I'm like, where are you guys getting this? And then we realized they split the houses.
Like, I don't even know how you would make a scary house out of this. I literally don't know. I'm almost interested to see the walkthrough when it comes out to see what they did, because I don't think Truth or Dare or that Unfriended are scary.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what I would do if I was the one, just because, and not because I think this would scare me, as we just said, but if you were going to try and mimic the film, I guess, I would make it so that, like, there's some kind of, I don't know how, I mean, I guess Universal could pull it off, but somehow if you look in the mirror or something and possibly there's like a built-in filter where it makes your smile go weird or something, and it makes you actually part of the haunt. I think that would be kind of creative. That'd be kind of cool, but I don't think that's what they're going to do. I think it's just going to be people walking around that look like that.
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, you know, from what we heard, our good friend the Beard Man, he said he went to the Blumhouse haunt last year when it was at Orlando, the first part of it, and he said it was one of the better houses. So they must do something right with the Blumhouse.
I'll give them the benefit
there,
of the doubt. It's got to take some creativity to do those houses based off relatively new IPs.
Yeah.
So I think it'd be interesting to see what they do with it.
Yeah.
But Brian, you had a fabulous vacation, it sounds like. So I want to hear all about your Philadelphia trip.
Yeah. So we have usually, I guess it's sort of a tradition. Whenever Julie's parents come in, we usually try and plan a little trip. We've gone to Toronto, Boston, Washington. Her dad has always wanted to go to Philadelphia. So Julie and I have been there. I've been there a couple times. But we figured this time we were going to do a lot of the tourist things, and actually, one of the things Julie had booked, which I was excited about, because I kind of looked at it and I said, oh, this will be fun, but I didn't know she was actually going to do it. But we got one of those Philadelphia passes that basically include, like, I think it was like $100. It includes everything. And so the more, literally you can get like 30 attractions in for that price. And, when you add up, you basically do like 4 or 5 and you've made your money. And we did about 8 or 9 or something. We definitely got the use of this pass. And also includes one of those hop off buses, with the double deck.
Good. Yeah, my mom did that in New York. She loved it.
Yeah. So it's like, it when it includes that, it adds a whole element to it, because you're basically getting a tour in itself in that. And I'll get to some of that, because actually one of the things, I'll skip around in the order here a little bit, but when we were on that bus tour, we actually did a few tours. One, we did part of the hop off bus tour. We did it was like a Philadelphia kind of like history walk thing we did, where we walked by apparently one of the one of the houses that was used in The Sixth Sense, and because obviously M. Night Shyamalan's from Philadelphia, so we saw a lot of that stuff cool. there. Yeah, and actually I'm getting it backwards. I don't know. That might have been when we walked by the storefront that not David Dunn. Oh, that's his Unbreakable character. His basically Bruce Willis's character in that. It was his wife's shop. I think that's what we walked by. Remember, cool. She worked at that antique shop or jewelry shop or whatever, and we walked by that, and on the bus tour, I think we passed by the street where he used to, where I guess the main house was featured in Sixth Sense. So that was kind of cool. And actually, speaking of M. Night Shyamalan, we also were at the Philadelphia Zoo, and of course, obviously that's where you find out, spoiler alert if you haven't seen it, sorry, but basically that's where you find out that underneath was where the girls were being kept in the movie Split. And so I was all excited. I said, all I want to see is have the tiger walk across on that thing like it did, and we were lucky we got to see that. I don't know if it was the exact one from the film, but we did get to see that. So just if you're not familiar with it, if you thought that was like a setup for the film, no, that's exactly what they have there. It's called Zoo 360, where they basically have a lot of the animal enclosures, and they have these interconnecting like trestles that the animals can walk. So you literally walk under them, and so you could have like literally a tiger walking right over your head. And
that's cool.
Yeah, it's a really cool feature of the zoo. So we got to that, and some of the monkeys walked across, and some other animals went over there. So it's a really neat little thing. But I was, of course, excited because of the Split references. Yeah, and so we actually passed. We were in some kind of thing, and there was like some toys laid out, and I said, I wonder if that's where Hedwig's was staying. Yeah, so that was kind of cool. But one of the coolest things we did is Julie had booked a ghost tour. It was called the Philadelphia Ghost Tour, and it was kind of cool because it took place at 7:00 at night, and it was lantern led by our host. And
cool.
Yeah, and we got, and I'm trying. I hope this doesn't come out as offensive, but the woman, I believe our host, she was a tour guide. I think she might have been a little person. She was really, really short, and she had this really cool hat and like caped outfit on with the thing, so it kind of added to it because she really looked like she got into the part. So it was really cool. So it kind of had a little like Zelda Rubinstein kind of thing going on. So she had like, she's definitely trying to add to the element of the haunted stories she told. She would do a really theatrical presentation of it. And now, to no fault of her own, it was probably a very difficult task to do because the stories were not too particularly scary to begin with, at least not someone from, a horror fan like me. So I was trying to look at this as just a regular average person, not being into horror, and see if it would, see if I could look at it without the horror fan eyes to it. So there was one story that was pretty creepy that she told, but I feel bad because she probably has to play it off to her audience. I mean, the stories are what they are, but there were kids in our group, so you probably can only go so creepy. I mean, so. Right. So she had a difficult task, but I thought she did overall a great job. I just think the stories, I would have hoped for a little bit more ghost stories, but some of the ones briefly I'll just go through without giving a total away. There was a cool one with we went to the library hall where supposedly Ben Franklin's ghost has been seen walking through with a stack of books. And she told kind of like a funny story about a librarian that kind of like ran into him, and like her boss walks in and she's sitting there with a big pile of books on her lap. And she basically I guess she got fired. They thought she wasn't doing her job.
I can't listen to this without thinking of Ghostbusters.
Yeah, that's what I thought of. Yeah, it's kind of like what I'm thinking of. It was kind of cool. And
oh my gosh.
But this one, then there was one called Bishop's White House. Sorry, I can't speak today. Okay, and so basically the story behind this was that I guess this guy was so proud of the fact that he owned this house that was one of the few houses at the time that had an indoor bathroom. This is back in the day with, outhouses were commonplace.
Yeah.
But they had an indoor bathroom, and so she was saying how they were so proud of it. But unfortunately, I guess where this bathroom led out, I guess, was into the lake, which ran into the well. And so and apparently they were not the only family in the area because it was, I guess, a fancy area. So you can imagine the water supply was not clear, and they did not have the best filtration systems back then either. So apparently, I guess a number of their children passed away by catching dysentery, essentially from the poison water. So they say that the rumor is that if you look up in the top window, they had us look up, there's a really tall, skinny figure looking down, which is supposedly the bishop looking down on where the lake was. Basically lamenting of his fate, of that he was, so proud of this house that basically essentially started, wiped out half his family. And they said also sometimes you can hear a woman sobbing, which was, she said that was basically the, I guess one of the servant women who absolutely loved the family, but was the one that used to draw the water to give to the kids. So I guess she felt a lot of remorse for that. And then there was another one, which this one I thought was cool because we kept ending up at this place. It was called the City Tavern, which was supposedly you could go in there and get a great beer sampler actually with which of the recipes were based after it was Alexander Hamilton had an ale named after him, Benjamin Franklin, stuff like that. So it was Thomas Jefferson. It was all their kind of recipes from back in their time. And now this was not the original structure. Supposedly this was a really old tavern that they used to go into, but it had burnt down at one point and been rebuilt. So we actually were at one point at the oldest operating tavern in Philadelphia, but this was supposedly, I guess, the one from that time period. And it was but the story that they told there was, I guess, as when I guess they were rebuilding the tavern, and it was a place, I guess, for weddings, and there was this bride there that I guess some guy had his wife to be in this really elaborate dress, and I guess there was a fire took place, and while he ran out, I guess he tried to run out, he realized he did not have it. He was holding the way she put it, she said he was holding the bride's hand, but as he ran out, I guess he ended up just pulling a piece of the dress off or something, so he thought he had her the whole time. but he didn't. And then when he looked up, he saw her and a number of the bridal party still in there and burnt, and they perished. And supposedly the rumor is that like if people were having weddings there after that, you could see like another bride in the background in the pictures.
Ooh.
So that was kind of creepy. But I think the one that was probably the best out of the creepiness is there was this park they took us into, Washington Square. Obviously not the one from New York, but this one, and it was originally a burial ground for the American Revolutionary War. And supposedly a lot of people said it's been haunted by a Quaker woman named Leah who protects the fallen soldiers' graves. And basically, so like a lot of people, like there was a cop that swore that he was just sitting there one day, and like this woman, she comes in like a shrouded black cloak and kind of like, this is where she did the theatrical. She's like, I am watching. I forgot the line she did, but she made this voice with it. It was so funny. It's so funny. I kind of felt Julie's eyes rolling behind me.
I can see that.
But yeah, I mean, the story itself was kind of cool. It's definitely a cool thing. And this is just, and the funny thing is when we look at Haunted Philadelphia, there are so many other stories that you hear of. It was, I guess this was just it was kind of like an area that they focused on.
Yeah, Brian, when you guys come down, we need to go do the haunted pub crawl.
Yes, I want to do that.
Wilmington,
absolutely,
so, yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
That would be fun.
So, and then one final thing I'll mention with the Philadelphia trip. Obviously, we did a bunch of other little things, but there was we stopped at, and this will play into later our beer pairing. We stopped at the Manayunk Brewery, which is one of my favorite breweries. We had that beer once at the Reading Terminal Market, and they ended up giving out free glasses that day. So we had these Manayunk beer glasses after we had our Manayunk beer. And so Julie and I always put it on our bucket list. So we finally got to stop there. And so I won't say why yet, but basically one of our beer pairing tonight is from that brewery in honor of the forthcoming Halloween season and the Manayunk Brewery in my Philadelphia trip. So I'll go through that later. But yeah, so that was another stop we made.
Cool. That sounds fun.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a great place. Point. Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, you'll have a ball. It's a lot of great. If you love history,
which I do.
You would absolutely love. They're just going through the the Independence Hall and the Liberty Bell and the museums. Like we saw there was a Hamilton exhibit there, which I was very disappointed there was no singing. But but it was it was just a lot of cool stuff. Different museums we saw, which are fantastic.
That sounds cool. Yeah. So next up on the rundown, we have a Terrifier official costume line coming in 2019. So you too can dress up like Art the Clown. Which is
who
cool.
doesn't want to, really?
Oh, yeah, that sounds fun. I'd love to have an Art the Clown mask.
Oh, yeah, I'm actually thinking of picking this up. Because actually, as you know, we love that film. And that film, that's really, like, I mean, that movie has become such a force, especially if you follow the horror boards as much as Tim and I do. And just everybody loves Art the Clown. And David Thornton, who plays Art the Clown, just seems like the coolest guy. And he's such an awesome guy. And I'm looking forward to meeting him at the Chiller convention coming up this October. So
yeah, cool.
Yeah, and so I'm definitely going to hopefully get a cool signed Art the Clown picture because Art the Clown is awesome.
Yes. And then a big news on the TV front.
Yeah.
I mean, what is going on? We predicted there would be all these horror TV shows. We had no clue how many of them there would be.
And these are two major franchises now.
This is a Texas Chainsaw Massacre TV series. And this includes, this licensing agreement apparently that went on, this includes a new slate of films, this TV series. I mean, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre brand is alive and well, and it is going to continue for many years to come if this holds up.
That's great. That's good because, and it's so funny because we as we joked about it as we did our at last year's summer slaycation on how Leatherface did all kind of like just the iterations of him and the Sawyer clan, and I'm like hoping they kind of get back a little bit more to the original roots of the Sawyer clan, And I'm interested to see what they do, but I'll watch it anyway. I mean, it's not a lot for me to watch this, but
no. And when I first saw this, my original thought was, wait, how are they going to do this on television? And then I remembered it's 2018, it's not 1988, and we have other cable outlets, and we have Netflix, and we have streaming, and there are many ways you can put R-rated material onto television now. So there should be no problem bringing this to TV. So I'm very much looking forward to that. And speaking of that, I had thrown this on the rundown, Brian. I don't think you had even seen this.
I actually did, and it was one of those ones that I like. Again, I forgot to put. I saw it, so I'm glad you put this on.
Yeah, I was really excited about this one. There is a new Netflix series coming out on October 12th. It'll be 10 episodes, and this is the series based on The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson, classic horror novel, and one of my favorites. And, of course, has been made into many movie iterations over the years, but a television series, or a Netflix series in this case, sounds phenomenal. And I've even seen some publicity stills. I'm only drinking black cherry seltzer water, so
oh my god,
so wait till I really start drinking. I've seen some publicity stills and they look fantastic. I mean, super creepy. This is a classic haunted house story, and I love those. So
that'll be really cool.
Yeah. And finally, on the rundown, we have some book news.
Yeah, so I picked this book up. I wanted to read this before we went, and it was like I saw it earlier in the year. It was actually, the book was sponsored by the Scare Zone podcast, which I want to actually check out now that I've been starting to read this book, because I really like this book so far. So it's called Halloween Horror Nights, Unofficial. I know the word's funny, but I think that's the way they wrote it. It said Horror Nights Unofficial, the story and 2018 preview, which I think I left out preview there, but when in the rundown. But it's by Christopher Ridley, and the foreword is by one of the original Halloween Horror Nights co-creators, Julie Zimmerman, who actually has, just in the foreword, has a very interesting story too, and how she was struggling in LA to be an actress, and she ended up getting into Universal, and she basically ended up going to, they pulled her over to Orlando to help plan the event, and she essentially was like, kind of handed the reins to plan some of this stuff without any kind of official office or anything. They basically, she was on a borrowed Apple computer sitting at a desk, and she was basically in a trailer, basically planning Halloween Horror Nights, how it started.
In other words, my dream job.
Yes, me and Tim's dream job, basically. And she makes it sound like, I had to borrow a computer, and like Tim and I would be scratching it down on Post-its if we could get this position.
I mean, show me the notebook, spiral notebook, and the pencil.
Right. Seriously, but and it's really interesting, the story. So I've been reading it. I want to definitely finish before we are on our trip. But it's interesting. So like some of the stuff, like I learned the beginnings of this horror event. It seems like to what it is today and how it started. It's amazing how it got from there to what it is now. And you want to know? I'll give you a little piece of trivia, which I don't think you might know this. I never knew this until I read the book. Do you know what the first IP house was in Halloween Horror Nights history?
I do not. I'm a complete Halloween Horror Nights noob. I really haven't read much up on it, so I would have to guess maybe Nightmare on Elm Street. I don't know.
You know, that's what you would think. You would think it's something like that. And then when I was trying to think about it, I was like, oh, maybe it was like Psycho, because that was a big Universal property.
Oh,
and
that's a good.
Now there was Psycho houses early on, but believe it or not, the first IP house was People Under the Stairs. And and they did it 2 years in a row, and apparently it featured the Roach Man. And so and apparently there was a I don't know if she's still there. The book made it seem like she's there every year in Halloween Horror Nights, just somewhere. But supposedly there's a rat woman, where she's a woman encased in glass coffin with live rats crawling all over her. But so supposedly that's somewhere in every Halloween Horror Nights. I don't know if they still do this today, but back then it was like a tradition every year. So it's a really good book, though, and I think it's going to be the perfect book to get. I mean, not that I needed more things to get me psyched for this trip and this event, but this is really kind of getting me there now. I mean, I'm like, I texted Tim today. I'm like, 25 days.
The countdown has begun.
Yeah, and it's like it's just so much like to look forward to, but it's kind of fun to know the history of it too. You know, I always like to know the history of a kind of.
I may have to grab that.
Yeah, it's $20, so it's an easy, and it's on Amazon Prime, so you can have it in 2 days. And I think it's about 300 plus pages. So in the way you read, Tim, you should be able to get through it pretty quickly. It's definitely a cool book.
I'm looking forward to our preview, but first up, we have to get through our DISCMEMBERMENT.
Wait, no, please, God, no, don't come up.
Okay, so first up, little TV on Blu-ray news. We got Supernatural, the complete 13th season, I tell you what, this is a little show that could. We watched, Olivia and I watched Supernatural up until about the 6th or 7th season, and then there was a rumor it was going to be canceled. And then, like, the fans brought it back, and here we are 13 seasons later. I mean, it's literally gone, like, 4 or 5 seasons past where they thought it would. So that's pretty cool. It's a great show. I have not caught up. I think I'm on season 9, maybe. So I have a ways to go, but if you enjoy Supernatural, that set is out next week. And then a big one. Actually, we got some really big releases this week, even though we don't have a lot of them. This is definitely my pick of the week. And this is Hereditary from earlier this year.
Yes, both of us like this film a lot.
Yeah, I mean, that's got to be both of our pick of the week, I think.
Oh, yeah. I there's no way it can't be. I'm looking at... I mean, I think the if this wasn't there, it would have been the second one for me because I'm dying to see this next one. But, yeah I think it has to be Hereditary. It was so good.
Yeah, so this one's being released by Lionsgate, directed by Ari Aster, starring Toni Collette, Millie Shapiro, and Gabriel Byrne. After the family matriarch passes away, a grieving family is haunted by tragic and disturbing occurrences and begin to unravel dark secrets. We do have a few extras on this one. We have deleted scenes, a Cursed, The True Nature of Hereditary featurette, and an Evil in Miniature photo gallery. So
I was hoping for a little more. I was hoping, but...
Yeah. They may come out with a collector's edition later. A lot of times they just try to rush these out.
Yeah.
These first ones out, and they'll come out with a better version later. So I may actually wait on buying this disc, even though I did make it my pick of the week, because I'm really hoping there's a better, more feature-packed edition coming. And next up, as Brian was referring to, Ghost Stories from last year, released by Shout Factory, directed by Jeremy Dyson and Andy Nyman. This one stars Andy Nyman, Martin Freeman, and Paul Whitehouse. This is that anthology film we covered a while back. Skeptical professor Philip Goodman embarks on a trip to the terrifying after finding a file with details of 3 unexplained cases of apparitions.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to be picking this one up. I want to see this.
Yeah, I think I will. That's definitely high on my list as well, because I really wanted to see that one when it came out. Just didn't get a chance. I don't think it was ever played around here, actually. I think it was a limited release.
Yeah, I think it was in the city. I want to say it was in New York City. Probably at a limited thing, but it was a very short run even there. I mean, it was maybe 2 weeks tops, I think. So
next up, we have a Dario Argento classic, Deep Red from 1975, released by Arrow, and boy, they gave this one the special treatment.
Yeah, it's like everything that Hereditary didn't have on it. They put on this.
Starring David Hemmings, Daria Nicolodi, Gabriel Lavia. After witnessing the murder of a famous psychic, a musician teams up with a feisty reporter. I love feisty reporters.
Yes, they're the best kind.
To find the killer while evading attempts on their lives by the unseen assailant bent on keeping a dark secret buried. Now listen to these extras. We got a brand new restoration from a 4K scan. We got an audio commentary by filmmaker and Argento expert Thomas Rostock.
Oh, that's the ones we like, those historians.
An introduction to the film by Claudio Simonetti of Goblin, who did the great soundtrack for Suspiria and other Argento films.
Right, yeah.
Profondo Giallo, a new visual essay by Michael McKenzie featuring an in-depth appreciation of Deep Red, its themes, and its legacy.
Wow.
Rosso Recollections, Dario Argento's deep genius, the Deep Red director on the creation of a Giallo masterpiece. The Lady in Red, Daria Nicolodi remembers Profondo Rosso. Music to Murder for, Claudio Simonetti on Deep Red, the soundtrack. And Profondo Rosso, From Celluloid to Shop, a tour of the Profondo Rosso shop in Rome with longtime Argento collaborator Luigi Cozzi in an Italian theatrical trailer. So this one, I'll tell you what, this one almost made my pick of the week because I really love these types of films. And this one's just so packed with good stuff that it's really a lot of bang for your buck.
Yeah, these are some of those sets that sometimes where, like, even if you haven't heard of the movie, just the amount of detail on the set and features makes you want to buy it. It's
right,
like...
and you can't go wrong. This is a classic. I mean, even if you haven't seen the movie, if you have Argento experts doing commentaries, this is a film worth having.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, that one's really high. I tell you what, if you were going to pass on Hereditary like me, I might do it holding out on a collector's edition. Deep Red would be your definitely a good runner-up for your pick of the week.
And speaking of passing on things,
So,
perfect
I feel like
segue,
we've been
Tim.
overly harsh to this film, but
Yeah, we might be.
Found Footage 3D is making its Blu-ray release this week. 2016, released by Shudder and Magnolia Home Entertainment. That's the first time I've seen Shudder with a release on a Blu-ray. Which
They probably had to make their money back somehow since they stole our 3D glasses we were supposed to get.
That's right. We never got them.
We know you're listening, Shudder, so send those our way.
As much audience as we've given you.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm not bitter.
No.
I've actually got piles of 3D glasses.
I know, I do too. It's like the last thing I needed was another pair, but yeah.
So this one was directed by Steven D. Gennaro, starring Carter Roy, Elena von Stroheim, which makes you think of Broheim.
That or something that was like it reminds me of like Veronica von Hammersmark from Inglourious Basterds, it's like one of those names.
Yeah, and Chris O'Brien. So a group of filmmakers set out to make the first 3D found footage horror movie, but find themselves in a found footage horror movie when the evil entity from their film escapes into their behind the scenes footage. So this one has 2 commentaries, one with director Steven DeGennaro and audio commentary with producers Scott Weinberg, Randy Ludwig, and Charles Mulford. We have outtakes, deleted scenes, extended scenes, and a trailer. And I feel like I was overly harsh on this movie. I don't know why, because there were parts of it I really liked, but I don't know, maybe I wasn't in the mood. Maybe I need to give it a second chance.
Yeah, no, I would give it a second chance. Here's the thing, and I think this is what I remember thinking back then, and just now, like, trying to remember it now. I think the problem was, I think it tried to almost, like, harken back to the earlier found footage films as an homage to it by them, but, like, with that little meta twist kind of thing, but instead it just felt like it was literally mimicking those found footage films at the wrong time. Like, it should have been released 10 years ago.
Exactly.
It missed somewhere, and I'm wondering if it was just that we went into it thinking it was something else. So I would give it another chance, but I think I don't know if it maybe did what it was trying to do too well to the point of where it felt like it was literally that a victim of what it was trying to mimic. So right. It's very, very, very weird thing, but I would give it another chance. It's not like, I usually give, listen, I've probably seen Paul Blart 2 more than once. So if I've watched that more than once, at least I gotta give our buddies over there Found Footage 3D another shot.
Yeah. Well, last up, Brian was very disappointed in me because he thought this was a film we had referenced a while back. This one's called The Barn, and you remember our good friend the Candy Corn Scarecrow?
Yes,
which was the villain of The Barn. Well, this is not the same barn, unfortunately. So we
how many barns are there? Jeez,
I don't know. We could not talk about the Candy Corn Scarecrow. There are no scarecrows in this movie.
No.
This one is from 2018. It's being released by Gravitas Ventures, directed by Matt Bureau. I don't know. It's
close enough.
I'm not really putting a lot of effort into pronouncing names because I can't even pronounce regular English words tonight. So we're just going to go with it. Starring Karen French, Ken Samuels, and Piper Lincoln. A serial killer strikes Sugar Grove, Virginia. A rising journalist, not feisty, but rising.
No, we got rising versus feisty.
Yeah.
That's going to be the combo. They're going to meet at a future movie down the road. Yeah, there we go.
A rising journalist comes to town to cover the story. Her investigation. This story. Oh, a serial killer. Okay, I'm so lost in this summary already.
Yeah.
Her investigation will soon lead her to the town's darkest secret at her own risks.
That is worded really weird.
It is
that whole
really
thing,
weird.
Yeah,
that's why I got lost in it.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
This one doesn't look nearly as fun as the Candy Corn Scarecrow. Though.
No, and with all those special features, I'm sure it'll clear it up. Oh wait, there's none.
There's none. Okay, so we do have 2 limited release theatrical releases that are interesting. Yeah. So the first one up is Boarding School. I actually watched the trailer to this one, directed by Boaz Yakin, starring Luke Prale, Sterling Gerrans, and Will Patton. A young boy becomes fascinated with the persona of his dead grandmother and is sent to an isolated boarding school for misfits run by a mysterious headmaster and his wife. And the trailer looked really interesting for this one. It's got a really kind of creepy, dark comic vibe to it.
I think I saw this, I think I saw the trailer to this,
And the next one I'm really interested in. This one is called Cynthia, directed by Devin Downs and Kenny Gage, starring Halloween's Scout Taylor Compton. Sid Haig, and Bill Moseley.
Is Rob Zombie doing this film?
No, it's not a Rob Zombie film, but it's got a lot of Rob Zombie alumni in here, so I'm really interested in this one. Cynthia is a horror film about the perfect couple and their desperate obsession to have a child, which descends into a terrifying dark comedy.
That's weird. How could it descend into a terrifying dark comedy? Wouldn't that be uplifting if it's comedic?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
I did watch the trailer. The trailer comes off as sort of one of those baby horror movies, like evil baby movies.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, I don't know how good it will be, but I'm intrigued by the cast. I'll have to say that.
By the way, do you know, believe it or not, these two films are connected in a very weird way. Do you know which way, Tim?
I don't know. This is a 6 degrees of separation bonus.
Kind of, in a way. Not by the actors per se, but both these movies star someone that's been in a Halloween movie. Scout Taylor Compton, of course, was in Laurie Strode in the Rob Zombie films, and Will Patton is in the upcoming Halloween 2018 movie.
Oh, cool!
So look at that.
There you go. All right,
interesting.
Awesome.
And he's one of my favorite actors. I loved him in Armageddon. He was so
he's
good
great.
in that. Yeah, he's one of my favorite actors out there. Yeah, he's just he's one of those guys that whatever you put him in, he's just always like he's just good at what he does. So it's
All right, well, let's get to our main feature. We are discussing our upcoming trip to Halloween Horror Nights 28 in Orlando. And I did want to preface this, Brian, because there's a lot of podcasts doing these Halloween Horror Nights preview. We had In the Loop do one.
Right.
I think Grim Grinning Ghost is doing one. Brian and I are complete Halloween Horror Nights noobs. We don't live in Orlando. We've never been to this event. I personally have not. I mean, I've watched a few walkthroughs and things, but I've purposely kept myself from watching a lot of it because I knew I would get down there at some point, and I didn't want to spoil it for myself. So I have not read really a lot about it. So I kind of wanted to preface this preview by saying there are a lot of other podcasts that can go into the history and can tell you, well, this year is different than last year because this house was here 3 years ago. I don't know any of that. I don't know. You
might if you read that book.
Yeah, well, to me,
right now we don't know.
Just like on In the Loop, those guys aren't that excited about the Halloween house, the Halloween 4 house, because there's a Halloween house for the past 2 or 3 years, right? But for me, it's brand new, so I'm going to be super excited about it. So that's just kind of a preface for how we're going into this.
Right.
We're coming in as like brand new casual fans that are just hyped up for this show. If you were a Halloween Horror Nights veteran, you probably would not get as much out of it, or you might just see it from the viewpoint of somebody that's a noob to this kind of stuff.
You'll probably just laugh at us. But and we're kind of catering.
That's what I was trying to get at politely.
Yeah. And we're gonna cater this, obviously, this preview a little bit more towards our trip to it, we're going to go into a little bit of what we're looking forward to more, I mean, I know other podcasts do that, but like Tim said, it's like, this is our first time, but we're going as basically like as actually a couple levels. There's levels to this. We're going as, cause we do like, going on trips together. Julie and Olivia get along really well. Tim and I, of course, get along really well. So we love going on trips anyway. We have a lot of fun together. So there's that. Then there's just the fact that we want to go see Halloween Horror Nights. And then the bonus, of course, believe it or not, is the third one, which I think is the civil gore element to it, which this is great for the podcast to be able to cover stuff like this.
Right, yeah. So, yeah, we're looking forward to it on many different levels.
Yeah, right. So that's why it's a little different. So that's why you can still listen to our preview of it along with the other more professional ones, possibly.
Yeah. So, but ours will be more fun.
Yes, right? Of course it will be. Will be.
So, of course, Halloween Horror Nights, they have one in Orlando, one in Hollywood. I did not know they had one in Singapore and Japan.
Yeah, I didn't until I went to the website to get to get all the details on it, and it made me choose.
That's cool.
I had to pick one.
So, of course, we're focusing on Orlando.
Right.
It runs from September 14th to November 3rd on select nights. And this thing goes from like 1 or 2 a.m. depending on the date, which is really cool.
Right. Yeah, we were there at 1 a.m. at tops, which is pretty good because we already have some long days.
Oh my gosh, because our early entry is at 7 a.m.
Yes.
So we literally have 6 hours from the time we leave to the time we're going to be back.
Right. And so they're I mean, but I'm like we're already like Tim's already starting to start. He's been jogging 3 times a week. I'm gonna start hitting the gym again and start practicing and getting like going on these endurance tests for this thing.
Yeah,
we got to do this right.
Yeah, we have to. We got 1 weekend to make this happen, so we have to do this right. So let's go through the scare zone. So if you guys are not haunt veterans, a scare zone is basically an outdoors. It's not a haunt. It's basically what it's called. It's a scare zone where you have scare actors walking around, scaring you. It's usually highly themed.
Yeah.
And a lot of times they'll put it on a pathway that you kind of are forced to go through it at some point during these events. So most haunt festivals and stuff like theme park haunts anyway have scare zones now. I mean, I know Scarowinds does it.
Yeah.
Busch Gardens does it. All the ones I know of have scare zones.
And Busch Gardens had, I got to say, that last year I was so bummed that it was when we went because I remember I had went a couple of weeks earlier. The week when we went with the rain really messed up that one on that long bridge with the fog, because that one was great because it was fog and the haunt actors were literally just standing in spots on that long bridge that goes over the Rhine River thing there, and with all the fog, and it was kind of downplayed because of the weather. So. But,
I really like the scare zones because in the houses you're kind of in a conga line going through, but in the scare zone, like you could get like jumped out from anywhere.
Right.
So it kind of opens up the haunt to kind of a more free flowing type environment where you kind of have more going on, and a lot of times the scare actors will let you take a quick picture with them. And
it's like more interactive. Yeah, totally more interactive, and it's really at some level, it's like. It's almost more of a fun element to it because it's really where you get a more unique experience. Because, I mean, granted, you go through a house, yes, no matter how good the house is, it's still, like Tim said, you're walking through in a conga line, you walk from one end to the other, you kind of almost know what kind of scares you're going to get. But in the scare zones, it's more of a free-for-all, and it's not scripted, and could be anything that happens. So it's kind of a cooler element.
So the first one up is The Harvest. An old barn holds horrors from each house. Foul creatures lurk between the hay bales, ready for a harvest of blood and screams.
And those screams will be coming from Tim, by the way.
Yes, those will absolutely be coming from me. One of my favorite mazes at Scarowinds, and I've seen it in other parks, is the corn stalkers type maze where you have corn fields or hay bales, and you have people dressed up like scarecrows jumping out. Those things get me every time. So I'm sure this one is going to be a lot of the same of that, and I'm looking forward to that because those are always really creepy.
Yeah, because I mean, anyone that's seen Children of the Corn is just scary, especially around Halloween. So if it's a corn maze,
it's inherently scary. It's the scariest vegetable besides pumpkins.
It really is. It totally is. I mean, I even beg to say that it might be scarier, but we'll see.
Yeah, because you can't hide in a pumpkin patch.
Exactly, no, unless you're orange. Unless you're Donald Trump. But but yeah.
Oh, we promised not to get political.
No, that was just that would have made fun of anybody who happens to be.
Okay. Yeah. Vamp 85, New Year's Eve. This is the next one. This one is a brilliant concept for a scare zone.
It really is.
Because you could just have easily made this a vampire scare zone, but make it a 1985 New Year's Eve vampire ball. That's awesome.
Yeah, we should preference that there is a major slant towards the 80s through this.
Yes, that's the overarching theme here of this particular Halloween Horror Nights. But I'll read you the description of this one. As the ball drops in New York City, this New Year's bash is about to bite, literally.
Love the slogan.
I'm so excited for this one. That sounds just incredible.
And this will make for some great pictures. I kind of with the scare actors. I bet this will probably be fun.
Twisted Tradition, an ancient evil, has been reawakened and transformed Halloween into an abomination. This one I probably have the least amount of information about exactly what it is. So, but Twisted Tradition sounds like they're going to have a lot of Halloween type theming going on, just perhaps more scary. I don't know if they're going to be I looked at some walkthroughs of the Trick or Treat.
Right, exactly. I was just going to say that I think it's probably going to be like that, but sans the Trick or Treat element because that's getting its house. So,
that's what I'm thinking. Maybe they're reusing some of that type of, which it looked incredible, by the way.
Yeah.
Go to
absolutely.
YouTube. And look at the Scare Zone Trick or Treat from last year is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Next up, we have our 2 IP-based Scare Zones, which I'm looking forward to. Revenge of Chucky. Chucky, the world's deadliest doll, has brought a toy fair to gruesome life on the streets of Hollywood, twisting childhood toys into nightmares you'll be dying to play. So I thought this was pretty brilliant. So instead of just doing a pure Chucky-based Scare Zone, they basically injected the Chucky IP into one of those scary toy type zones.
Right, but I think that'll be cool because I'm looking at that almost as if it was almost could be a plot to a Child's Play sequel at some level, you know, where
I think Chucky, it's gonna be awesome. Yeah,
so it'll be like you're in a role of like the character in a Child's Play sequel, and I think it'll be cool because the possibilities. I'm like, I could see like a walking Jack in the Box around. It's all creepy.
Yeah, the girls dress up like creepy dolls.
Yeah, I think this one will be really cool. I think this one will actually. It's probably going to be the most surprising because I think people probably are thinking, oh, it's just going to be a bunch of Chuckies walking around. And I think they're going to be really impressed. I'm just going by my gut on this one.
The last one up is Killer Clowns from Outer Space. I'm so much looking forward to this. An interstellar circus tent has landed on the streets of Universal Studios Florida. At this circus of fear, the joke's always on you. And I have seen preview pictures of this, and it looks incredible. Like, from what I've heard, the masks and stuff they're using for Killer Clowns are just spot on. So
wow, that's cool.
Super excited for this one. I saw a pre-publicity shot of the sign.
Oh, really?
Exact Killer Clowns logo and everything. I mean, they went all out on this, so this one's going to be incredible, especially for Olivia because she hates clowns.
Oh God! Oh, that'll be fun. Actually, and I saw someone posting that they were actually they watched some of the setup for that has been going on currently. I mean, obviously we're just a couple of weeks away from the opening because we're going the second week, but it opens in I guess so it's like 18 days or so.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be so they're gonna they're already been setting it up. So I guess if you're in Orlando now, you can get a peek.
Cool. All right, so we're going to go through the non-IP houses first. These are the original houses, and some would argue, I've heard many people say that the non-IP houses are actually usually their favorite.
Yeah, I've seen that throughout the years. When I've been following it from afar, obviously never going, but...
Right. Yeah, and I've seen the same thing. Like, a lot of people look way more to the non-IP original houses. So let's see what they got in store for us. I'm going to just read the names of these, and I'll kind of go through the description. I won't read them word for word because they get pretty lengthy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, no, I included that. We included a lot of stuff there that we can just speak to more, but we highlighted the main description of it for you
right
guys.
So first up was the first, and I did these in the order they were announced, I believe, or close to it. So the first one up was Dead Exposure Patient Zero. Fear will infect you, plunging you into darkness against a plague of swarming, fast-moving zombies. So this house, I do know, was based off a previous house called Dead Exposure.
Right.
That was a fan favorite. And a lot of people said this is one of their scariest houses because it is one of those mazes that is in complete darkness.
Oh. And
you only have strobe lights occasionally flashing to show you what's around you. But the neat thing about this one is that the setting. So it's set in the middle of Paris in 1982.
Again, see, they're sticking with that 80s theme, which is great.
So the City of Lights has gone dark as chaos spreads unchecked. Hordes of vicious flesh-eating undead are swarming the streets. So this sounds absolutely terrifying. If you imagine going through a pitch-black house and all of a sudden you see these strobes and you see just swarms of zombies around you.
Yeah.
I think this one's going to be really, really cool.
Yeah, it's funny. It's like I kind of like I'm always, because we've been through so many houses with the zombies already, but for some reason I think Universal's going to knock this one out of the park because with their like most of the time at the regular haunts and stuff, you see the zombies are all the same thing. There's always that like fake screen where you see them like look like they're trying to get through the walls, or that one where you look through a window and something goes, and it slams against the plexiglass. But I don't think Universal's going to do that. I mean, they may have a couple of elements similar to that, but I just think, though, with their amount of staff that they employ for this event, you're going to have, I think, a ton of scare actors. I'm sure they're going to do some kind of effects to where it looks like there are literally thousands of zombies coming after you.
Yes. Oh, it's gonna be so cool. I'm
Yeah,
really looking
this will
forward
be
to that
cool.
one.
Yeah.
Now, next up is one of the ones I'm looking most forward to on the original side.
This one was like it's basically out of the non-IP houses. This one was like probably the most meant for civil gore.
Yes, this one is called Slaughter Cinema with an S-I-N.
Yeah.
It's showtime at the local drive-in where you don't just catch a movie; the movie catches you. When the credits roll, heads roll.
Which is great. That's like that. Just that tagline alone,
yes,
like makes this thing.
So this one is based on like old grindhouse drive-in movies, and it's worth reading a lot of this description because it just sounds incredible. So it's showtime at the local drive-in. As you approach, you'll see movie trailers of what you're about to witness, filling you with dread as you make your way inside. The smell of popcorn will be first to hit your senses as you find yourself in a movie theater snack bar. But from there, it's all downhill for this double feature. In one film, you'll be hunted by werewolf bikers. In another, you'll come across a bloody, gut-strewn pumpkin patch. And did I mention deadly barbers? You'll find yourself screaming through the sinister cinema as you try to avoid becoming the snack of alien cannibals, creatures with tons of teeth, and a ravenous swamp yeti. Yes, you read that right.
I know, yeah. And they even went so far to make, and I included this in the rundown so we could talk about it, they made these like fake movie posters that look legit.
Yes.
Just for this haunt, you know?
Yeah, so the first one up was Amazon Cannibals from Planet Hell.
Yeah. And there's little Easter eggs if you look in there. If you look in the credits down below.
Yeah.
Just like look at some of the things like it says like Hercule Poirot's, you know, like similar to Hercules Poirot, of course.
Oh,
and it says Jack in the Box Pictures. You know, there's just a little like kind of like little like nods to other things in there. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah, the second one up was called Pumpkin Guts. These pumpkins will cost you an arm and a leg.
Yeah, and it's just a pumpkin that's being stabbed in the eye and the head.
That's really
and
good.
He's spitting up all the pumpkin seeds.
This last one might be my favorite. It's
Yeah.
Speak of the Devil, Cult of the Beast Baby. And it's got a baby in a bird cage with these cultist figures looking on. These look... I'm praying they have any kind of merchandise with this on it because these just look incredible.
From what I understand, there is a lot of great merchandise at these events. And in fact, there's a whole store, I think, dedicated to Halloween Horror Nights. Like whether it's a pop-up store or they just transform the main gift shop, a big section of it. But there's a major... Because I watched one of the walkthroughs and I think it showed one of the girls, I guess, that hosted her YouTube channel was walking through this massive gift shop of all the Halloween Horror Nights stuff, which looked just really cool. So Tim and I will definitely be clinging to our wallets as much as possible, but I just think it's going to slip out of our hands and just cash is going to come flying out.
Yeah, we'll be spending a lot of money. All right.
Yeah.
So next up should be one of our favorites, Brian. Since we are theme park fans. So, Carnival Graveyard, Rust in Pieces.
It's got puns, too, right off the bat.
Oh, so, yeah, there you go. The caramel-coated carnivals of yesteryear have died, but something sinister has festered, waiting to torment those who trespass upon their salvage yard. So you can imagine a salvage yard filled with rotting amusement park rides. How
come on.
great is that?
Yeah, that is so And I remember one of my favorite houses that we experienced together was the one at Busch Gardens with the that old carnival with all the freak shows stuff. Remember that? Where it was like the different tents you went into?
That was fun. I love that one.
Yeah, and see this one was like, this is another one made, not so much for Civil Gore, but made for me and Tim.
Yes.
This one, it's like, I mean, come on. This is
that
like
sounds terrific.
Oh, yeah.
And it sounds very, what's the word I'm looking for? It sounds very...
elaborate? Maybe?
Elaborate, yeah, like ambitious is what I was looking for. Ambitious, because you got to have like these carnival pieces and stuff.
Yeah. And did you read this line? I think sums it up for us. Ride parts have become instruments of torture, and the walls have been painted in the blood of those foolish enough to enter. These carnies won't stop until they've had their fun-filled revenge.
That's great.
So they will be after Tim and I.
Yeah. All right. So this next one is one for Olivia because my wife loves to garden. This one is called Seeds of Extinction. Humanity is extinct, wiped out by a cataclysmic meteor. In its wake, something monstrous has taken root. So I found this premise fascinating. So this is post-apocalyptic, but there's no humans left. It's all just like, I guess, man-eating plants with no men to eat.
That'd be interesting to see what scare actors they use for this.
Yeah, Predatory plants of all species use strangling vines, razor-sharp thorns, and poisonous pollens to encroach from all sides as you invade this new world.
I think this is gonna. You know what this is gonna be like? You know, a couple of those houses you go into where the whole point of it is the claustrophobic feel, where they kind of like make the really thin. Well, you know, usually they do it like at the regional parks. There's like some cheap air thing that blows it out, so you have to kind of push your way through a thing. But I think this is going to take that and what they always wanted to do, make you feel really claustrophobic, where like things are going to, like the plants will be closing in on you almost. Like I think it'll actually probably, you may have like a dead farmer or something, corpse that may move around or something, but I could see this being one of those I like to like refer to as like a scenery based haunt, where it's the scenery just kind of tells the tale, not so much the scare actors.
Yes, yeah. That this one could be really cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny.
I
was gonna say, I think this one, because this one's like on my radar as like a peripheral, like, oh, okay, it might be fun, but the more we discuss it, I could see it being much more of a house that we like a lot.
Yeah. And the final non-IP house is called Scary Tales Deadly Ever After.
This was the one where this was the one I was going to say that was rumored, I think, in the early things that it was Wizard of Oz. And as you see the tale, you'll see why. I wonder if they just either decided to go against actually being an IP completely and been more just so they can be more creative with it, or maybe they didn't get the rights. I don't know.
The Wicked Witch of the West has cursed the land of the fairies, twisting beloved stories beyond recognition. There are no fairy tale endings here. So this one is a house obviously based on like twisted fairy tales, and they gave us a hint. They said portions of the house are nicknamed Revenge, Toupee, and Splatter.
Yeah, and they had some weird banners that they showed, where one is like, it looks like a almost like a crest that would be like a family crest, but it's like a wolf. Mm-hmm. And then there's the Wicked Witch one, of course, where she's like a banner, and then there's Humpty Dumpty. So I'm not sure what exactly this is going to be.
There was we used to have a Halloween festival here up at Poplar Grove Plantation. And the kids would put on, when I say the kids, the high school kids would put on the haunted house and the hayride every year. And the last year I went that they did the haunted hayride, they did a fairy tale themed haunted hayride. Oh, and so cool. It was all twisted fairy tales things. And it was by far the best one I had ever seen done here in town as far as the hayride haunts had gone. So I know this fairy tale theme can really work if you do it right.
Well, yeah, if you think about it, most fairy tales are kind of frightening when you're young, you know? And so now they can just basically, instead of sweetening it up as they do when you're reading it to a child, they will just stop that part, and it'll probably be all the horror.
Go back to the original.
Yeah,
the original
like
text.
The Grimm's fairy tale, like, you know, where it was really, like, creepy. Like, if you think of a fairy tales like Hansel and Gretel, like, they get cooked in an oven, right? I mean, just turned into cookies. I mean, is that not terrifying? Or what? Right? That's the one, right? They get. So I mean,
exactly. All those. If you go look at the originals, if you ever have a chance to go like look up the actual original fairy tales as they were originally done, like they are really brutal and horrifying. Yeah.
Well, I don't know why they're like how they became children's books. I'll never know, but
like I think I remember in the like the original Cinderella, I believe like the stepsisters cut off pieces of their feet to try to fit into the slipper.
Yeah, that's right. I did. Like, I heard
they were
that.
Very very dark. So
yeah.
All right, so now the IP houses, the fun part. Okay, so first up, of course, is the big one that everybody went nuts over.
Yeah.
This is Stranger Things. Halloween Horror Nights takes you deep inside the haunting world of Netflix's Stranger Things. The Demogorgon is hunting in our world now.
It seems like a twist, almost, a little bit, right? Or is that just a play on it, do you think?
I don't know. I'm hoping that we actually see the Demogorgon kind of coming into the world of our regular world or something. I don't know. It sounds.
I mean, yeah, and there's a little bit more. See, there's more description here, and it gives kind of like an outline. How it says you starting off on Mirkwood, then you move into the Hawkins National Laboratory. Then it says, you know, there'll be environments from the show, but being hunted by the Demogorgon. But then it says you'll step into the Upside Down. And then it's in more than once, whether you like it or not. So I could see them doing some kind of trick where you think you're outside, you're done, and you're not, and you're. So I think they're gonna take some I mean, they're going to obviously want to play their hits with what everyone loves about the show, you know? I'm sure you're going to see some scene where Eleven is doing some crazy stuff to the Demogorgon. You know, there'll be some stuff where you... But I have a feeling they'll take a little bit of creative liberty towards the end of this house. I mean, obviously, I don't know, but I could see them maybe adding a little bit of twist to add to a surprise. Because you obviously, if you're walking through every scene, fans of the show are going to say, okay, well, here comes this, here comes that, here comes that. They can't just do that without
I don't
adding
think,
some
I
twist.
think it'll be better. I think they are going to pour everything into this house. I'm really hoping they go the whole... I mean, just put everything they can into this house because they know how popular this show is.
Yeah. I mean, and this was the first one announced, too. I mean,
I'm hoping they really go all out. And then another one I hope they really go all out on because I just absolutely love this movie is Trick or Treat. Trick or Treat, this terrifying maze is breaking all the rules of our Halloween tradition. So... We mentioned earlier the scare zone. If you go look at the scare zone from last year, it looks identical to the movie in terms of the theme. And there's no other Halloween movie that captures the spirit of Halloween as well as this movie does.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like you never see those movies, the Christmas movies, where you're always like, wow, look at that town. The entire town's involved by getting in Christmas spirit. That's what this is, but for Halloween, basically.
Yes. And like everything about it just immerses you in the feel of it being Halloween.
Yeah.
And I love that. So they basically took this, what I'm assuming was a very popular scare zone.
Yeah.
And turned it into a full-fledged house. So I'm really, really looking forward to this one. I'm sure you'll see, I don't want to give any spoilers away for the movie in case you haven't seen it, but obviously you'll have Sam.
Yeah.
Who is our little Halloween demon guy. Which I can't wait to get a picture of me with him.
Oh, yeah, we need to... But I wonder if we can, because he's not in the scare zone anymore.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, the pictures were all during the scare zone. We may not be able to, but...
But they may have something. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if because he's so popular, maybe he's walking around somewhere else or something.
Yeah, hopefully so. Yeah.
We'll figure it out. Well, maybe we are doing the RIP tour, so possibly maybe we have a moment or something that they'll give us. So we'll see. Yeah. But I like this, how it kind of follows the movie where it's basically telling you need to pay attention and follow the rules of Halloween, which was the kind of like one of the themes running through the movie. So that's kind of cool.
Next up, this one came out of nowhere. I had no clue this was coming. Poltergeist. Restless spirits have overrun the infamous house atop a cemetery and will lure you into a place between life and death. Don't get lost in the light. So this, of course, is based on the classic Poltergeist movie from 1982, I believe.
Yes, 82.
And so one of my favorite films of all time. Love this movie. Could not believe they were doing a house out of this. It's got to have the scary clown under the bed. It's got to have the static-filled TV. There's so many iconic scenes from this movie that are going to be in this house. I just cannot wait.
You know what would be amazing if they should somehow replicate you as Joe Beth Williams at the end in the pool. Can you imagine that? If they could pull that off? How great would that be? Things are just coming out of the ground, pulling you down. Oh, that would be awesome.
Yeah, I've heard some interesting rumors about this house and how it's going to be, so I think it's going to be amazing.
Oh, yeah. No, this is definitely one of my my big look forwards to on this.
Yeah, and it's great that this one also fits into the... Like, everything here, there are some exceptions to the 80s theme, but the ones that they do hit on the 80s theme are, like, dead on. Like, they're really, really good choices.
Well, they have to, I guess they have to, realize that some people, there are some people going there that are not really, familiar with the 80s, so it's like you don't want to be totally alienate those, but...
you're restricting yourself a lot when you're forced into one theme, so... But kudos to them for doing as much as they did.
Yeah, and I think they did a great job at the picks for it because it's still they pick things that are still kind of like Poltergeist. Now, maybe people, even if they're not familiar with the movie itself, there was a remake and they've heard of it. They know the term, so they know it's like I think they did a really good job of picking the IP houses that fit into the 80s theme.
Right. Yeah. All right, so next up, Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers. Now, they have had Halloween houses in the past, but they've never had a Halloween 4 that I'm aware of. So this is kind of interesting. I'll just read you a little bit of this description because it's interesting how they give you kind of hints as to the layout.
Right.
It says you'll be dropped right in the middle of Michael Myers' path where he is on his way to eradicating his niece. He takes out everyone in his way, and you'll be right in the middle of the action. Try your best to escape the bloodbath. Not even Loomis, Myers' psychiatrist, can save you. So I wonder if you're going to get like, I don't know, it's kind of weird because this movie is not, the first movie, of course, is iconic.
Right.
Halloween 2 was set in a hospital, so that's easily, you can easily theme something to that.
If they had that one, Olivia would be
she would be
punching you the entire way.
She still will not watch that movie to this day. She's terrified of Halloween 2. Yeah. So Halloween 4 is kind of interesting because it's mostly just takes place in like Jamie's house, right?
It's funny now. I'm drawing a blank because 4 and 5 were to me always.
Yeah, they're so close. Yeah, I always see them as one movie basically.
But basically, what kind of what it's funny. This is like almost like a traditional Universal attraction they're building, where it's that term "drop in the middle of." So it's basically you're kind of like same thing with like the Gringotts ride. It's you're dropped in the middle of a scene that you know so well from Harry Potter, but you're kind of on the peripheral, but you're still in the middle of it. And so it's kind of like that. Like I think they are going to probably play out the movie as close to the actual plot as possible, but kind of put you in the way to basically veer it off its course a little bit. So I think I think you're going to like literally like you may have an actress playing Jamie that's running across and now you're in between her and Michael Myers and he's going to be jumping out at you, so I mean here's the thing. It's like I was hoping it was going to be, this was one of the most unsurprising announcements because there was rumors of this house coming and they actually leaked the poster by mistake at some hotel a week or two before this was even officially announced. And it was just one of these rumors that's like, okay, it's coming, it's coming. But the reason why I'm really excited for it is because like we said, we have never been here before. So to get a true licensed Halloween walkthrough haunt, I don't care which movie they pick at some level. As long as Michael Myers is popping out of places, I'm excited. And it's a licensed Michael Myers, so it's going to be as accurate as possible.
Yeah.
Bad mask and all,
The only experience I've had with a Michael Myers in a haunt was that haunt in the woods we did.
Right, you had
last
that
year,
one. Yeah.
Near my dad's place, and there was a guy dressed like Michael Myers, and they had the Halloween music playing, and that freaked me out.
Yeah, well, Tim, we're going to be walking in his house, and as soon as we hear the music hit, we're going to be so immersed in, we're not going to care which movie they took it from.
No.
We're just going to be excited. I don't know if you saw, but they announced, they actually had the full Halloween Horror Nights trailer they released today, where it shows like a woman just kind of walking on like a total, like, basically black room. You're just walking around and the different teasers from the haunts are coming out. So
cool.
So you got to watch that. Yeah, I shared it on our page so you can easily find it today, and it's really cool because it kind of hits the main things we're excited to see. It's really well done. So it's kind of cool.
Awesome.
It's really quick, but it's good. It definitely it's good 35 seconds, I think, or 45 seconds or something. But it's a really good, like, ultimate trailer for just the Halloween Horror Nights. And I think it specifies it's Orlando and Hollywood, the commercials for. So I assume Singapore and Japan have something completely different.
Yeah.
But,
all right, so the last IP house is The Horrors of Blumhouse. The haunted minds behind Happy Death Day and The First Purge have spawned another horror house. Will you live to see tomorrow? So I'm always interested in houses that combine IPs.
Yeah.
But these are two good ones because I have not seen The First Purge, but obviously I know I've seen enough Purge movies.
Yeah, you don't need to see the specific one, I'm sure. Yeah.
Now the Happy Death Day one's going to be interesting. How do you do that? Now I was thinking one way you could do it. Of course, you have the babyface killer from Happy Death Day. That's an easy one. But it's like it wouldn't be cool to like repeat sections of the maze.
Right.
So you're going through, but he jumps out at a different place each time or something. That would be interesting.
Oh, that was good. Well, if not, that's Kickstarter number 345. We're going to make our own Happy Death Day maze.
Yeah. Well, it says, if you look here, it says your dread will grow with every step as you relive her death over and over again.
Oh, okay.
So that would be a cool premise for a haunt where you're kind of basically going through the same hallway over and over or something. I don't know.
I wish they relived the scene where she walks out into the quad with no clothes on over and over again. Especially if they can get Jessica Roth to reprise the role.
Yeah, I have a feeling they're not going to have that.
Yeah, I know it's adult oriented. It's
not
event,
that adult,
but I don't think it goes that far. Yeah.
I might pay an upcharge for that.
Oh, I would. Yeah, I would definitely pay an upcharge. We'll just tell Olivia and Julie, excuse me, we just need to go. We're doing an interview for Civil Gore over here.
It's an escape room.
Yeah.
We'll be gone for an hour.
Yeah. But yeah, no. So this one will be interesting. Like The Purge, I mean, I can't imagine how different it's going to be than the 50 times they've had The Purge scare zones and Purge openings to the event. I mean.
Yeah.
In all honesty, I'm probably looking forward to this Purge sequence the least out of anything at this. But
Yeah,
I
same
do
here.
love Blumhouse, just period. So I'm gonna give it a chance, of course. I mean, I'm not gonna poo-poo it until I get to it. So
Yeah, it might be fantastic.
oh yeah, it could just be so blown away effects-wise that it'll just win us over that way. And I loved Happy Death Day, so I'm really excited just to see that anyway.
Yeah, me too. So that's our houses, and I'm going to skip over a little bit just to look at what we're most looking forward to. So, Brian, which are your houses? What are your top 5 houses you're looking forward to?
So, my top 4, I think, Halloween 4, as I mentioned, just because it's an official Halloween house that I've always wanted. I've always been jealous when I've seen them at the events, and I did watch one walkthrough someone did of the original Halloween house because I heard it was so amazing. So, I'm excited to just experience that. Like, I want to see a Michael Myers coming after me, and I know I can, it's not a real Michael Myers coming after me, so that'll be cool. And then, of course, the Poltergeist, which Tim and I have said, that's just, growing up when we did, that was that was a fantastic horror movie to be alive through in the, when it was current, because it was just so iconic. Stranger Things, of course, because, everyone loves Stranger Things, and I'm kind of glad that we're there for it's like the first year of it. So we're there it's like probably one of the most anticipated houses, and it's our first year going, so it's like we're not going to just hear about it and say, oh, I wish we would have went that first year, kind of a thing. And then the Scary Tales, of course, because I'm just curious to see what they're going to do with it, and I think they could do so much with it that I just think it'll be really fun.
Yeah, my list pretty much mirrored yours. I did not have Halloween on there only because I had, not that I'm not looking forward to it tremendously, I really am, but I have seen walkthroughs of the other
Halloween I'm sorry,
houses.
And I put Trick or Treat. I'm sorry, I had 5. I did one extra. I did have Trick or Treat on there too, just because of the obvious.
Yeah, that's mine too. But yeah, I'd already seen some walkthroughs of the Halloween houses, so I kind of know what to expect there, so I didn't put that on there, although I'm very much looking forward to it. My non-IP house I'm most looking forward to is Slaughter Cinema. And I think I would also probably put the Rust in Pieces in there as well.
Yeah, you know what? It's like, I mean, in all honesty, it was hard to pick just 4 or 5 because I'm looking forward to all of them, really.
Yeah, I don't see any houses on here that I go, I could take it or leave it.
Yeah, there's not
all
one
these
I
sound
would.
Amazing.
Yeah, and we're gonna get to see them all because of the RIP tour. But there's it's like I was thinking, okay, well, just because that first night we're there, it's a Friday night, it's gonna be busy. We don't have any kind of express pass on that first night. Are we gonna I was like, well, I'm sure we could skip it. I'm like, I'm gonna be so excited to see every house. I don't even know if I could. It'd be hard to wait. What do we do? I'm like, part of me wants to run to that Halloween house because I think it's right in the front. If you look at the map, it's kind of right when you walk in. But they say that that's usually the worst spot to go to unless you're one of the first ones in. Now, we do get by staying on property, we get that special entrance, but a lot of people stay on property nowadays, so it's not like...
Yeah, there's still going to be a line.
Yeah, so it's like, I'm kind of, I'm wondering what to do. I do know that there's a lot that I've seen this from the walkthrough videos, a lot of the houses towards the back, which I think is where Blumhouse is, and one of the other non-IP houses is in the back to the back of the park. Those, I think even throughout the night, they said they don't get crowded till towards around 10 or 11 o'clock. So I'm wondering, is our strategy fly back there, get through as many of those as possible, and then just suck it up and wait on a couple of long lines up the front? I don't know. Yeah. I mean, we're newbies at this. I mean, I know our friend Beardman will be there, and he's been through this. But, then again, it's with different houses, it's different expectations, different demands. So who knows?
Yeah, we'll have to strategize. Now, probably the biggest disappointment for me is that the Bill and Ted show's gone now.
Yeah.
Which was always supposed to be phenomenal.
Especially if you read the history of Halloween Horror Nights, where they say how the show started and the earlier versions of that show and how great it was. I'm like, I would not be surprised, though, if the show this year has some kind of nod to Bill and Ted. Universal is known for whenever they replace something, the thing that replaces it gives an homage or a nod to it. Like in Diagon Alley, there's the London waterfront there where Jaws attraction used to be. There's some Jaws references sprinkled throughout. So don't be surprised if Bill and Ted are necessarily completely gone.
Yeah, the show this year is Academy of Villains Cyberpunk. With a wicked mix of dance, acrobatics, and theatrics, Academy of Villains is back for an all-new performance of pounding synths and neon lights. And this one, to me, is what I'm least looking forward to, kind of, because I'm not really into dance shows and things like that.
Yeah,
and,
me either, but...
I would rather have, something with, some comedy to it, or, sort of like Bill and Ted was, with a lot of pop culture references, I think would be way more my style.
Right.
Now, I could be completely wrong. This might be awesome, for all I know, but... The whole theme with cyberpunk and stuff just sounds kind of lame to me, but we'll see.
Yeah. I mean, it says Academy of Villains. What villains, though? Is there, a list of it? Is Jason going to come out and, swinging on a trapeze or something?
Yeah.
That would be hilarious. And then he swings over and Freddy catches him and they swing.
Yeah,
I don't know, because I know, those kind of characters have made appearances in these shows, and, the Bill and Ted show, and, actually, one of the funny things you'll read when you read that book, one of the earlier versions of the Bill and Ted show was supposedly trying to push the movie Time Cop with Van Damme, so they tried to give it one last theatrical push by incorporating Time Cop somehow into the Bill and Ted show. So it's so I mean, it's on one, nothing's off limits with these things. And Universal always does this kind of stuff.
It could surprise us.
Right.
Sure.
I mean, they don't put on bad shows, basically,
no.
Universal, somehow. I mean, whether or not it's our cup of tea, I'm sure there will be something we'd appreciate about the show. Good thing is we get reserved seating on Sunday night, so it's not something we need to waste time on necessarily on Friday if we don't want to. So,
exactly.
Especially with some of the rides we can get done.
That's right. We do have a list of the rides that will be open. So if you don't know, during Halloween Horror Nights, there are select rides that are open. So if you have some time between houses, you can actually go ride some stuff. And we'll definitely have some time for the RIP tour because we're guaranteed to get into every house.
Yes.
But between those times, we can also go do some rides. So Transformers The Ride 3D will be open. Hollywood Rip Ride Rocket, which is a coaster credit I need.
Yes.
Revenge of the Mummy, another coaster credit.
Yeah.
Men in Black Alien Attack, which I can see us spending a lot of time on racking up our high score.
Yes, considering we have which we'll get to, the Men in Black Alien Attack Challenge Tim and I are doing.
Yeah. Fast and Furious Supercharged, which we'll probably ride once.
Yeah, I have no
lame it is.
Yeah. All I've heard is that the queue is amazing, the ride is
Yeah.
So we'll see.
And then one I'm definitely looking forward to, Harry Potter and the Escape from Gringotts. So
yeah.
That
which
one,
is a great
I can see us riding that one a couple times.
Yeah, and even though we have the express pass for the days we're there, for the regular point of the park, so we probably pretty much walk on those anyway, the fact that, probably it'll be one of the more emptier sections of the park, actually, especially when it gets later in the night, that's something we could probably just want to re-ride a few times quickly to really get the experience on it, which is pretty good. Plus, I mean, just if we get a couple of rides in on that first night too, if we're just trying to take a break from the house or something to kind of cleanse the palate, it gives us more time to really experience. Because remember, Tim, you have not been to Universal in some time.
This is all new to me.
Yeah.
Last I went was 2002, so there was no Harry Potter, there were no screen rides, there was nothing. Yeah. It was a completely different park back when I went. So I think the only big screen ride they had was Spider-Man.
Oh yeah, and they've actually, since you've been there, they've actually revamped it so the screens are better than ever. Because we went a couple of years ago, and it was and I had been on that several times already, and it blew me away yet again because it was just it was so sparkling, the imagery and the ride. I mean, definitely Spider-Man's always been listed as one of the best attractions at any theme park, and it definitely lives up to it. But actually, we're getting pretty long on this show. I'm surprised, but so we probably should keep moving a little, I guess, along. But so some of the other things we're going to do, actually, in terms of civil gore, is we're doing the, as I mentioned earlier, I said Brian and Tim. Me and Tim are going to do a just friendly competition stuff. One of the things we're going to do is the Men in Black Alien Attack, as we mentioned. We're going to do I don't know if we'll do best of 3, since we'll be able to rewrite it with the express passes, or just, how we'll do that yet. But we're going to do a competition with that. And then this one will be really fun, I think. It's the Brian versus Tim in the mini golf at the Hollywood Drive-In mini golf challenge.
Yes, and I love mini golf. I'm a big fan, so.
Yeah, and Tim and I did. I've done this course once, but I did the sci-fi one. This one is the one that's going to be the Haunted of Ghostly Greens, and it's so it's cool. It's really highly themed golf course, which is great, right at City Walk there. So that'll be fun. So basically, there's a whole bunch of little like gags, and there's little special effects, and there's like things you can look for, like little games you play, kind of like, remember like that circus one or whatever we did where you had to find, it's kind of like it's got some of those elements to it. So, and then of course some of the things we're gonna look forward to, kind of non-horror related but just universe related, is of course Voodoo Donuts, which Julie came up with a great hack, by the way, Tim. So remember how we said, it might be a great spot to grab a quick breakfast in the morning?
Right.
Well, that was before I realized they open at 7, and so does our express pass opens our early entry starts at 7. But we thought Julie is going to pack a Tupperware, so we were thinking maybe getting some donuts, like possibly the night before, and have them waiting for us in our room in the morning. So
there you go. That's a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah. So Julie's got one of her amazing, usually as we call her, the fixer. She's got a great hack. She managed to hack Universal's Voodoo Donuts, and she's never even been there yet. She's been to Universal, but not Voodoo. So that'll be a good thing. We're gonna try, hopefully, hit Cowfish and Toothsome Chocolate Emporium, and that's Olivia's target. Even cockroaches and all, right? I mean,
we're gonna brave the cockroaches and hit there. So, and then if anybody saw that recently in the news, we'll have to see. We'll play it by ear. If we go in there and it's like a D rating, we'll be like, maybe next time.
Well, I read a little more in the article. What it was there was one on the wall. I mean, Florida, first of all, like even Julie said it. She goes, cockroaches and chocolate are just not a good mix for them not to find each other. And so, and it's basically, but what I found out is they were open later in the day. They got shut down. 6 hours later, they were open again. Basically, what it is they get checked more often now. That's basically the main element. It's like, it's not like they, I'm sure and if actually you think about it, it's going to be the cleanest it's ever been right now. It's like anything right. When you hear these accidents that happen on things, usually the best, safest time to do it is almost right after, because they're going to be super attentive to everything. Yeah, so we should be okay.
All right. So we did do a beer pairing, even though we didn't have a movie. We did a beer pairing because Brian is actually drinking this one.
I am. It is Yunkin Pumpkin by Manayunk Brewery in Manayunk, Pennsylvania. That's where I said we stopped on, just outside of Philadelphia. It's right on the Manayunk River, too, so it's a great setting. The food at this brewery is fantastic. It's a massive restaurant area at this brewery. One of the biggest I've seen, actually. And their food is one of the best brewery restaurant foods I've ever had, actually. And they actually, apparently, the waitress was telling us that they get people clamoring in for their sushi there, which we didn't have. I had a Cuban sandwich because Chef has been on cable lately, and so I've been in the mood for Cuban sandwiches ever with that being on there. And so I got that, but Julie and her parents, they each got this burger that was out of this world. It was like one of those really like good grass-fed burgers with some spices on it. It was just fantastic. But anyway, so when I got there, I was all excited because I saw a sign that their Yunkin Pumpkin is a beer they make, but it said coming soon. So I was all bummed. I'm like, because they didn't have it on, it was not on their tap list. So I assumed it just wasn't ready yet. But I walk in, and lo and behold, there's a shelf of beers you can take in cans away, and there was an entire stack of Yunkin Pumpkin. So, of course, that was a no-brainer. I was going to get that. But they also had, I got to scroll up, they had a porter that was there in one of those, those bigger bottles. And I want to get the name right. I think it was Yunko Lantern is the, Punko Lantern. It's a vanilla bourbon pumpkin porter. So yeah, I'm looking forward to trying that one. Yeah, but the one I'm drinking right now is Yunkin Pumpkin, and that is I'll read the description. It's brewed with real pumpkin, so that's always a plus. You like that? It says this seasonal favorite is one true indication that fall has arrived. Of course, we know Tim and I start early with fall. Yeah. It says the aroma of nutmeg, allspice, cinnamon, and clove jump out of the glass, creating an experience much like eating a slice of pumpkin pie on a brisk autumn afternoon. And if that doesn't get you psyched for the Halloween season,
my gosh,
I tell you.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah, and this is definitely one of the better pumpkin beers I had. It reminds me of that one I had last year from the Chelsea Brewing Company. It's just got a really good, like, drinkable, smooth flavor to it that really does taste like almost like liquid pumpkin pie. So this is definitely a good. Yeah, this is a good one. The only problem with Manayunk, they do not distribute anywhere near me. It's like the only time I've ever seen it, literally, when I've been in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I've never heard of it.
Yeah, but it is a good one. Next time, if I know you're coming, we might have to take a little side trip there. We can get there in about 2.5 hours.
Yeah, I had a Wicked Weed French Toast Stout over the weekend that was incredible. It tasted just like drinking French toast.
Wow. There's a bar, a really good beer bar that we saw. We didn't get to it in Philadelphia. It's called, I think, the Monk's Tavern. They actually had Pliny the Elder. They had Wicked Weed. Yeah, we just didn't make it over there, but they seem to get beers from everywhere. But Wicked Weed, I was even more surprised than Pliny the Elder, because every once in a while, Pliny the Elder appears in New York, but to see Wicked Weed, I've never seen that anywhere other than when you had it for me.
Although I would say Wicked Weed, it's probably going to get wider distribution because they were bought out by one of the big beer companies.
Oh, I hope they don't ruin it, though.
Yeah, I know. I've got some friends that are kind of beer snobs that just were like refused to buy it anymore because it got bought out. But
yeah, because Goose Island kind of went downhill after they got bought. But
yeah, I'm hoping that doesn't happen to them because Wicked Weed is by far one of the best breweries in North Carolina.
The one you got me was amazing.
Yeah, so we'll see how that goes, but hopefully you'll be able to find it. Maybe the distribution, though, having a wider distribution, you'll at least get to try some more of them. That French Toast Stout was really, really good. And I'm not big on stouts until it gets really cold. Yeah. Which it doesn't get very cold here in North Carolina, at least where I'm at, until it's got to be like January, February before I really get into my stout season. So but this one was good. I could see myself sitting down with that one for sure.
Oh, that'll be good. And by the way, there is apparently there's a craft beer cart at Halloween Horror Nights somewhere in the New York area. I saw.
We'll find it.
Oh yeah, we will find it.
There's a craft beer.
Yeah.
Cart anywhere near that park, we're gonna find it.
Yeah, we will find it.
I was gonna do the 6 Degrees of Decapitation, Brian, but I think we'll save that for next week.
Right? Yeah, we'll wait because
we don't have one for this week, obviously, because we didn't do a movie.
Yeah, and plus, if I'm sure people are just dying to know how to connect Costas Mandalore to Bob Costas. So
that's right. Well, you have to wait one more week to find that out. It'll be
disappointment, I'm sure, but
yeah. But anyway, thanks guys for listening.
Yes.
Again, check us out on Instagram, Twitter, Gmail, Facebook. And I left a little bonus Easter egg at the end of the outro music if you stay tuned. I haven't done that in a while, so I decided I was going to throw something in there for you guys. So don't turn the podcast off until after the intro music.
I'm excited. Music. I don't even know what this is yet. Tim surprised me. So
yeah. All right, guys. So we'll see you back here next week for Back to Ghoul. So, what would you say is the scariest thing in the world?
A shark.
A shark? The scariest thing in the whole world is a shark? Seriously?
Bad guys.
What about a shark who is a bad guy?
So it has feet?